Okay. Good evening, and thank you for joining. I am Coach Yamz, and hold on, I got somebody trying to join. Hold on. Ooh, you're right on time, friend. Is you there? Can you hear me? Yeah, you are. I believe in you. Okay. I'm going to get this event started. So, hello, everyone. I am Coach Yams. Yaminah Mitchell is my government name. And I am a transformational speaker and a self trust coach and the founder of Healing is Work Coaching. And I built this work for a very specific woman, a woman who is self aware, one who has done the reading, the journaling, the therapy. She knows the patterns and still finds herself repeating them. A woman who is healed enough to know better and ready to live like it. And if that is you tonight, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So what we're doing tonight is not surface level. And so I need you to be here. I need you to tap in, choose to be present as much as you can be, not just logged on. And want to know if y'all can do that. I'm going to check who wants to log in while I'm doing that. Good evening and welcome. Think that worked? Maybe it didn't. Hold on, let me see. I'm still learning technology, y'all. Blessings. There we go. Welcome, Kobe. Okay.
Hello.
So you haven't missed anything. I've just introduced myself and asked that everyone dedicate the next 20 minutes to being present while we're here together because I got some good shit for y'all. So I am going to start here. So I want you to think about the last time you finally sat down. Maybe it was after work, a full day of work, or maybe it was after you got your child settled, or after you handled something that wasn't even on your to do list to handle. You finally sat down, and then your phone goes off. Maybe it's got to do with your kid needing just one more thing. Maybe it's someone in your family who happens to have the absolute worst timing and always calls you at the worst possible time. Or it could be a friend that has a favor, or it could be your job that said, I know business hours ended at 5 p.m., but it's 7 o'clock and I'm going to send you this anyway. And at this point, you're already running low. You've already given a lot to that day, but they needed you. And you said yes. Why? Because that's what you do. And you figured it out and you pushed through and you showed up again. And afterward, nobody really noticed. Nobody said anything in a way that made you feel like they truly understood what it cost you to show up in that moment. And you didn't say anything either because what would you even say? That moment, it has a name. And tonight, we are going to talk about it. But first, I want to say something specific because I think that what I'm about to name is especially true for women, women who are capable, women who are educated, women who have figured out how to hold everything together when everything seems to be falling apart and crumbling through our fingers. We still figure it out. Women who learned early that being strong was not something we had the option to be, it was required to survive. The people who care the most tend to absorb more than their share. And it's not because anyone told them to, it's because they're the ones who show up every time without being asked. But over time, that stops being a strength and it starts to be something else. And so we're going to give it a name. Got the next slide. Okay. So the thing that we are naming, the word that we are looking to describe, it is called overfunctioning. And overfunctioning is when you pick up more than your share because one, you are capable, and because two, you care. And along the way, those two things start to cost you. It looks like being the one everyone calls when something breaks. It looks like saying yes before you have even checked in with yourself to see if you have the capacity. It looks like apologizing for things that were never your fault. And it also can look like absorbing other people's stress because somehow you became the person that was able to manage things better than they are. And if you have been to therapy, you have started to get familiar with the language and know some of the names of these things. You know the patterns, but knowing the pattern and being free of it is two very different things. And sometimes the gap between those two things is exactly where guilt can creep in and have us in a chokehold. And so, what does overfunctioning cost us? Well, first, it is going to keep you tired in a way that sleep simply cannot fix or repair. Additionally, it's going to show up sometimes as a low grade resentment where there's no one person or one scenario that is the problem. It's kind of everything that's the problem. And you can't pinpoint it because your nervous system is overwhelmed. And then there is where people tend to dread the week before it starts. So I know that I have not been the only person that has dreaded Sunday coming to an end and Monday starting up because you're not ready to deal with Monday because you're already overwhelmed from all the other things you've been trying to keep up with, all the plates you've kept spinning. Um, and it feels like healing is happening, but somehow the goalpost keeps moving. And that last one is one that people don't really talk a lot about. It's that stuck in the middle feeling where you've done the work, go to therapy, you may have read some books, you've done some journaling, you've listened to the podcast, but you're just not all the way there yet. And I want to say that healed enough to know better, healed enough to know better and still struggling to do better is it's a reality that a lot of people live in. It's a gap, it's not a failure. And that's exactly where you may be right now. And that has a name as well. Let's see here. So I'm going to give you a reframe. Overfunctioning, this is not a willpower problem. It is not a time management problem. At the root of overfunctioning is a self-abandonment pattern. You have been leaving yourself out of the equation for so long, and your body has been sending you signals, begging you to listen long before your mind ever gave you like the language or the understanding of what was going on. And so I just want to check in with everybody right now for a bit. Put in the chat a yes if you've ever kept going past the point where you wanted to stop. And it may not have been because you had to. Maybe it was because you didn't want to let somebody down. I'll go over here and check this. This chat. Bree says yes. Kobe, yes. Yeah. Yeah. We've all been there. We have all been there. Hell yeah. um, and so next I'm going to have us go into where we feel this. We now have a name for it. So now I want you to feel it in your body. And so let me get to this next slide. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do something. And some of you are on camera, some of you are not. It doesn't really matter, but your body is going to appreciate this regardless. And it won't take more than about 60 seconds. And I just ask that you be present. And if you are out and about moving around, don't close your eyes and nothing like that. But if you are in a safe space, I challenge you to allow yourself to close your eyes if that feels safe. And I'm going to ask that you put both of your feet flat on the floor. I'm going to do this with y'all because it matters for me as well. Both feet flat on the floor. I'm going to have you put your hands in your lap. It doesn't matter where, just whatever feels natural to you. And I'm going to have you close your eyes if you haven't already, or if you haven't made that decision yet. And we are going to breathe together. And our breathing is going to be in through the nose and a slow exhale through the mouth. And we're going to do it together. Y'all ready? Here we go. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Do it again. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. One more time. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through your mouth. And now, without judgment, just notice, where in your body are you holding tension right now? And when did you first feel that today? And notice, was it before or after you said something that already cost you? Your body already knew before you had words for it, before you could name it in therapy or write about it in your journal. Your body already knew. The thing is, we just don't slow down long enough to listen. There's constant information, there's constant noise, there's so many things going on. We're taking in information constantly, and we don't make time to slow down to listen. And because there's always something or someone who needs our attention first, that's how we get sucked into this trap of self-abandonment, because that right there, that is the self-abandonment showing up in a very quiet form. Self-abandonment is not dramatic. It does not necessarily cause crisis. It's just you coming last again. And I want to say something directly to the women who have done the work and still feel stuck. And this applies to the men too, but my audience is women. So, don't feel weird about the pronouns. Knowing something in your head is not the same as your body believing it yet. And this is the case because the body keeps the score and the body heals on its own timeline. Healing is not a linear process. And I just want to let you know that you are not behind, that you are in a process. And you're healed enough to know better, and your body is still just trying to catch up. And that does not make you weak. That is healing in real time. That's what healing looks like in real time. It is messy. It is uncomfortable. It sometimes doesn't have words, but it is a process that is very important for all of us if we so choose that journey. And so if your body already knows, then what do you do with that information? And so I'm going to talk about how to shift overfunctioning. So before you say yes to the next request, any request, whatever it is, wherever it comes from, you get one breath and one honest question. Do I actually have capacity for this, or am I just afraid of what will happen if I say no? That's it. One breath, one question. The whole system, just a pause. And I'm going to give you all three real responses that you could use. And I want you to notice something about these responses. None of them require an explanation. None of them require an apology. Because a complete sentence is a complete answer, and no is a complete answer. And so, option one in the real world responses that we have available to us when we use the pause practice is the first option, which is the full yes. The full yes means that you have the capacity and you want to help and you are genuinely available. And communicating that to someone can look like, absolutely, I've got you, whatever it is that you need. And then we have option number two, which is the redirected yes. And this means that, yes, you can help, but it might not be right in that moment. And you don't want it to come at the cost of what you already have that you've committed to. And so responding to someone with a redirected yes can look like, I want to support you with this. Can I follow up with you tomorrow? Because I want to be able to give this real attention. And then if the full yes or the redirected yes don't feel true, there's also the honest no, which is you are at capacity, full stop. There's nothing else. And to communicate that looks like, I'm not in a place to take this on right now. And I'd rather be honest with you instead of overcommitting and under delivering. And these are just some examples. Feel free to play around with the language. But I do want to note that the honest no feels terrifying when you've been taught that your value is tied to your usefulness. And when saying no feels like abandoning people. And this is especially when the guilt tends to show up before you've even finished the sentence that you may have been in the midst of. So here's what I need you to sit with because it's important. Every time you say yes from an empty place, you are teaching people that your empty is enough. And you cannot give from an empty, you can't give from empty. And you deserve truly to give from full, overflow even. And so the next thing I want to touch on is two kind of boundaries that can come up that feel completely different in the body. Oh, hold on. Come on, technology. Don't work against me. So we have one type of boundary that comes from resentment. And this is a boundary that happens after you're already past your limit. Someone asks you for something and something in you snaps and you say no really sharp, or you say yes and then you have an attitude and you're frustrated and you're furious the entire time that you're doing whatever it is that you've agreed to. That is a reactive boundary, and it means that you've waited too long to set a boundary. And then we have another option that is a boundary that comes from capacity awareness. And this is where you're not depleted yet. You pause, you actually take the time to check in with yourself, and you respond from an honest read of what your energy levels and your capacity are. This is a proactive boundary, and this is the pause practice in action. And excuse me, the thing with boundaries is that the goal is not to never help anyone. The goal is to help from a place of overflow or from full. Because when you give from empty, it's going to cost everyone ultimately, including the people that you love the most. And so I'm going to leave you with this statement to hold on to. Resentment is just a boundary you waited too long to set. And I go to this next slide. Okay. So before I close, I want to let you all know who I am. My name is Yaminah Mitchell, and people call me Coach Yamz. I'm a transformational speaker, a self-trust coach, and the founder of Healing is Work Coaching. And the framework that we just walked through is the Neuroconfidence Code. That's mine. I built it from my own lived experience, from navigating self-abandonment, toxic relationships, burnout, and the long, non-linear path back to myself. Because like I said earlier, healing is messy. It's messy work. So what I've talked to you about this evening is not just theory. It's what I've actually walked through. And I built it so you don't have to figure this out on your own, because it's a lonely road when you got to do it by yourself. And because I am trauma informed as a coach and speaker, I built this work for a very specific woman, right? A woman who is healed enough to know better and ready to finally live that difference. And if that's you, then I built this for you. It's not for the woman who is just starting to wake up and take off the rose-tinted glasses. It is for the woman who is already awake and tired of watching herself repeat the same patterns over and over and over. And that gap between knowing and living this truth, that's where I do the work that I do. So you haven't spent so much energy holding things together for your kids, your job, for anyone else who needs you, because it's okay. People need from you even when you're not okay. And the difference between carrying the weight, there is a difference between carrying the weight and abandoning yourself under the weight of overfunctioning. Your body knows the difference, even when you have convinced your mind that it doesn't. And tonight, before you say yes to anything else that's going to cost you, I want you to pause. I want you to take one breath. I want you to ask yourself the one honest question, because that's where it starts, and that is the work. And we have just a couple minutes left. And so I wanted to open things up for whatever may have come up for you: questions, reactions, pushback, comments, concerns. You can unmute yourself. You can type in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself, but please feel free to share.
Hey, Yams. Oh,
Hey, hey,
I'm
hey.
sorry. You can go ahead, friend. I'll come after you.
Who else? I just
Oh,
said,
it was
hey, I'm
okay. Maybe it was me because I had unmuted at the same time that Bree did. Um, no, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed this session because I know that there have been so many times where I have said a yes and my body was screaming no. As a matter of fact, after I said the yes, when my body was looked at me like, you you didn't just say that, did you? And the answer was, yes, I did just say that. And it was so challenging for me to go back to that person and say to them, I had said yes to you, but I really need to respect my what I'm doing right now. And as much as I want to be there and be there with you to support you and to be around, I just really got to honor me. And girl, do you know that was the hardest thing? Like my body was like even resisting that. I was like, what are you doing? This is not safe. She's not going to like you. What do you mean? And so my people pleaser came up in it. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's okay. I said my piece. She respected that. And it actually made us a little closer because she's like, oh my God, how many times have I done that? And I, to myself. and you did this. So thank you for, because I told her the whole story. I snitch on myself.
And that's the thing that's so incredible about this, because one, as people, we're not taught that we have the right to change our mind, but we absolutely do. And two, when we are transparent and genuine enough with the people who we may need to say no to, so many more times than not, they are super willing and understanding and even respect you further, because they're like, damn, you said a no that I might not have said, but I wish I would have said that. And
Yeah.
so I just say thank you for sharing that. And also know that your no empowers other people to be able to say no too.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I received that. And that pause is really helpful, because if I would have paused for 2 seconds before I said yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's to
Thank you.
create those new neural pathways in the brain, baby. Because default
Absolutely.
is real, real easy to slide into.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Bree, what you got?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, First of all, I don't even know if this is appropriate to say, but I just love
Everything's
you.
appropriate.
I just love you, and I love you as a friend, but watching you grow in this space and seeing how you're creating such a safe space and helping so many people, especially women, on this journey of healing is so very important. But nonetheless, a couple things stuck out to me, just words. So one thing that I've not taken from you, but embraced since hearing you share it is no is a complete sentence. And I find myself saying that to so many people, especially a really close friend of mine who is learning that saying no is okay, especially to her parents. Because I think so many of us feel so compelled to do what the older folk need in our life, even if they might have not, you know, been the best, or if like we know that in our stomach and our core we don't really want to do it, but we don't want to feel guilty. Um, let's see, you said, you talked about language is very important, and I appreciate you helping not only me but so many other women to find the language, because I think we may have been having these feelings and sitting with them so long and fighting ourselves, but now that we have the words, I think that that's so important to say, okay, I it makes you feel like you know what's going on and you have so much more uh just to grasp in your life.
Mhm.
um the reactive boundary that you spoke about, I've never heard it in that way, and that resonated with me. And I've definitely felt those moments of resentment. So yeah, all those things, and I appreciate just having a safe space to navigate and make sense of it, because sometimes I feel so alone in this journey, and there's so
Mhm.
many other people there who are to walk with me. So yeah, I'm learning to say no and sit with it, even though it's very uncomfortable. One
Mhm.
thing that's come out like in my personal journey is I've been titled a worker bee. I just want to help everybody out. I just want to, my relationship and my friendship at work, give 110 every single day. And I'm just functioning on 50, 60, sometimes less. And so I've had to learn to put worker bee behind, or not behind, but put her away for some time. So yeah, that's just kind of what stuck out with me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yes, and honey, worker bee needs a nap. She tired. She tired.
Yes, she is.
Yes. But thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I and we're friends obviously, but anybody who knows me and encounters me know that words are so important. Language matters so much, because without it, how do you decipher, articulate, and then say, okay, yes or no, and then I'm going to move forward differently, whatever that looks like. So, yeah, thank you for sharing.
I want to share.
Go ahead.
Um, well, I just want to start out. First of all, you're gonna be very proud of me because I actually hit somebody with "no" is a complete sentence yesterday,
Yeah, you did.
and you should have seen the look on their face. They were shocked. I'm like, I keep telling you no, and you keep trying to make me change my mind. No, but um, I think. it can be very difficult at work setting boundaries, because a lot of times with these jobs, they make you feel like, well, if you can't, it don't even have to be in your job description necessarily,
Mhm.
but they try to make you feel like, well, if you're not going to do this, then, you know, we're not going to keep you around.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with my job, I don't necessarily feel like that's true. I just
Mhm.
feel like they try to scare you sometimes. I can't
Mhm.
speak for everybody else's job, but I feel like they just try to throw that around like, well, you know, you're at work and you need to do these things.
Mhm.
So I think just and I'm not saying don't do your job. That's not what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I just think that sometimes it's hard to set boundaries at work.
Mhm. I would agree with that 110,000%. I have had the same corporate job for going on 13 years now, and who I who I was as a human when I started that job 13 years ago versus who I am now. They got me, honey, when I was in my late 20s, and I am 40 now. So they done seen 3 decades of me. And I have changed so drastically. And though it feels hard or scary to set boundaries at work, what I have learned is that one, if you are on top of your shit and the job is done
Mm-hmm.
and you got receipts, they can't touch you. Not really. I mean, they can because, depending on where you're located, like we're in Tennessee, so in at will state, they can technically do what they want to do. But typically, people don't want like the legal repercussions of fucking with people. And so, with anybody, friend, coworker, whatever, setting boundaries is uncomfortable work because people want you to stay who you've always been. And bucking that system is how we make the shift in the world that we want to see. Because can I show up and comply and keep making people feel good? Sure. Can I fit into societal norms? Probably. Do I want to because that's who I am and how I desire to show up in this world? No. And no job pays enough to make me stop being myself. And so at the core of it, like you said, if you're doing the work, if you're checking all the boxes, fuck them people. Truly.
Yeah, I agree. Fuck them people.
Fuck them.
Yeah, so thank you, sis. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else got anything before I close this thing out? I thank everybody for sharing. Because interaction makes this a lot more fun. And now I have dropped into the chat 3 links. The first one is a resource guide because I wanted everyone to walk away with what we shared tonight as something tangible that you could have in your hands. And so go click the link, download it, save it wherever you need to, go back to it every week. Whatever you got to do, but it's going to always be a resource there for you to access. I'm going to make sure I include it in the email that I send out after we have concluded here. The second link is a short 8-question feedback form, and that just helps me know how was this helpful? How can I do better? What more kind of things are you all looking for so that we can continue to grow together? Because nobody has all this figured out. Nobody's perfect, and we are all on this journey of healing together. Even if it's a little individual, it's still together. And just know that there's a question on the questionnaire where if you say that you're seeking support from the conversation tonight, that I will reach out to you directly. And then the last link is if you're ready to go deeper than right now, not eventually down the line or when life lines up or when things seem quieter, calmer. If you're ready to just jump into it because life is lifing and you're ready to be different, you're ready to show up different, you're tired of the patterns, go ahead and book your clarity call. And we will have a conversation. We'll see where you're at. If you and I working together one-on-one makes sense, there's no pressure. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna be honest about what may or may not be a good option. If I don't have a good option, I'm happy to send resources, all that kind of stuff. But I thank y'all so very much for spending some time with me this evening. I'm sorry I ran over about 10 minutes. I feel like half of y'all showed up 5 minutes late, so I'm gonna let that balance itself out, and that's okay. Ain't no fault, ain't no blame. But I love y'all. I thank y'all. And yeah, we'll be in touch. And I will definitely have another event next month. And so be on the lookout. CoachYamz.com and healingiswork.com is where I'm posting all the event things. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.